Welcome to the Brad and Taylor Show. Today we have Thom Tillier.
You're listening to The Brad and Taylor Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to pursue their passions. We're sitting down with some of the best to learn how they got started and some lessons they learned along the way. Hey, Thom, how's it going?
It's great. How are you guys today?
Well, we're still alive over here. We got a couple of questions. We're going to talk to Thom today. We got a couple of questions, learn about how we got into real estate, and let's get started. So Thom, we need to go way back. We need to go way back, like when you were like 3. Were you wearing a suit and tie ready to get into real estate when you were like 3 years old?
You know, if you ask my mom, she would say yes. So always in sales of some sort, whether it was newspaper subscriptions or, always the fundraisers as a kid. It was just, I always had my hands in a sales capacity of some way. So my mother would say yes, but obviously no, because I had no idea what real estate was or what realtors did. So.
Okay, so when did you decide to be a realtor? Actually, before that, what did you actually want to be when you grew up? When you were getting a little older, what did you want to be?
It's kind of hard to say what exactly I wanted to be. Obviously, I wanted to be a hockey player because I played hockey my whole life. So I thought I was going to be like this professional hockey player. But being influenced by shows like Chips and things, of course, every young kid in that era for sure wanted to be a cop, right? I wanted to be a policeman. Mm-hmm. And veterinarian, of course. I think we all wanted to be veterinarians for a while.
Yeah, I did.
There's so many of those things have crossed through my paths, but I think the number one answer would be hockey player for sure.
Awesome. Well, since we're talking about hockey, we'll go back to your real estate question, but what were you doing this weekend? We saw you out out sledding. We have to know, did you fall?
Oh, I fell several times, and but I think the kids get a kick out of it when I fall. So sometimes I just bite the dust just to get a reaction from them. But all it was I had the GoPro strapped to my chest, and I was just having fun with them.
It looked like a fun video.
They don't get me out there as much as they would like sometimes. So when we do go out, we have a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Where do you guys go sledding?
There's this school at the end of our neighborhood. It's where the kids go to school.
Okay.
And there's a decent hill there. It's not like some crazy hill, but it is at the end of the street. So it's super convenient to throw the sled in the car and head up and hit the slopes.
It looks like a pretty good size hill.
Yeah, it's not bad. It just sits behind the school, and it's a lot of fun, actually.
Sweet. Now let's get back to that real estate question now. When did you want to get into real estate?
Wow. I think real estate always fascinated me. Back in high school, I did a lot of remodel work where I was the grunt, right? I was the one up on the roof tearing off shingles, or I was the kid, tearing insulation out of a house, throwing it in a 40-yard dumpster. And so I was intrigued at that point, but it didn't even really cross my mind to take it to the realtor or flipper type level. Even though this guy was doing it. So I always had like kind of an interest in real estate a little bit. But what happened was in 2002, maybe, I was selling BMWs for a company called Earhart BMW, and it's a local BMW store here. And there was a local real estate agent that came into the dealership to buy a new BMW. She wasn't necessarily a real estate agent at that time. She worked for a builder, Pulte Homes. And she pretty much recruited me. And when she asked me to join, to come talk to Pulte, she said, you'd be a good fit. And once I got into Pulte in the new construction side of things, that's really when my passion, expanded. And I absolutely loved getting into real estate in the early 2000s.
Nice. Would you say that she was kind of your mentor in your beginning stages?
No, actually, no. She was kind of like just the person that sat there and was happy with her experience buying the car and said, you might be a good fit for our company. And she worked for Pulte, and next thing you know, I'm interviewing at Pulte, and it worked out to be a pretty good career until the recession hit and building stopped.
Do you see a lot
a
of
few years later.
Do you see a lot of agents coming from like the car industry or anything like that? Like, do you see that like industry helping you out to get to the real estate?
I don't think so. I don't really know anybody that has made that transition, or I don't know anybody that was in the car business and now into real estate, except for one of my buddies. But overall, with all the people I know, I have not seen that.
Did you?
You would think that would be more prevalent.
I know. I see like a lot of what was it? I see a lot of people coming from like the restaurant industry going into it. I see a lot of that. I was just wondering because it just never wasn't sure. So what do you remember like your first like real estate deal?
I do. My actual first real estate deal as a licensed agent coming back into real estate years later, or are we talking back in the Pulte days?
Well, we want to know way back. Like
Yeah.
your first one, because
Was it a smooth transition?
Yeah. Was it smooth?
Working for a builder, it's a little different. So I did have a mentor. His name was Todd, and Todd took really good care of me when I was there. And so he trained me. He beat me up. He was kind of like the guy who kind of showed me the ropes. And I worked at a neighborhood at 15 in Haggerty called Carrington Gardens. And that was my very first neighborhood. My very first neighborhood was $550,000 to $650,000 homes. And it was great because I didn't know anything at the time going into Pulte. So he taught me all the ropes about what to do, what not to do. So my first deal, let's see. I don't think I can pinpoint it, but I can probably go back and name, I don't know, half a dozen or a dozen people that I associated with, that I helped buy a house in that neighborhood. But once it came to getting back into real estate, I do know my first deal back into real estate after I got out of real estate for a while.
Well, let's hear about that one. Let's let's change it up a little bit. Let's hear about your first listing that you had as an agent.
Okay, so it would be the same thing. The first listing was referred by my cousin, and it was a house in Lapeer. So it was about a 45-minute drive from here. I went into this, presentation. And we're friends of friends, right? So they're really good friends with my cousin. I went into this presentation, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I overpriced the house by about $20,000, and it was tough. It was tough to understand the paperwork. It was tough to understand what I had to do. But I knew that because I had a marketing background between Pulte and coming into real estate in this fashion, I had a marketing background. So that's where I hung my hat on. I know marketing, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to take everything I know and I'm going to make it work. And I did. And we ended up selling the house, and we ended up being the highest priced home in the neighborhood that sold because we were $20,000 over the last sale, which we just kind of fell into because it was a cash offer and there was no appraisal needed. So I kind of got
it worked
lucky.
out.
Yeah, that worked out really well for you.
It did. It worked out for them too. So they were happy. I
Yeah.
was happy. And then it just started rolling from there.
You're like, I got this. What was the biggest takeaway you got from that listing? What was the biggest thing you learned that you're like, I learned that, and I've like your biggest takeaway?
The biggest takeaway from that listing, well, it's the paperwork, right? In the presentation, I was so nervous. I mean, I remember just beating my head up against the wall, going over all the paperwork prior to the meeting, not knowing what I was doing at all. And then once I got through that part, then it all kind of was smooth sailing.
Awesome.
I feel like that's very common, the paperwork part. When
Yeah.
you're first starting out, there's just a lot of it to go over.
It was daunting, and I look back at it now and I realize that, but I haven't thought about that in a while, because once you get it,
Yeah.
and it just kind of comes easy now. But as a new agent in the very beginning, it was scary. You don't want to miss anything. You don't know, because that's not what they teach you when you get your license. When you get your license, it's all about random things that you don't use. They don't teach you the things that you do use.
Yeah. Okay, so how'd you get from there to where you're at now?
Wow. That's a good question.
That's a big difference.
It's a big difference. I will tell you, I I hit the phones hard for a while, right in the beginning. And I was able to put together a 5 property deal. And what happened was I was calling expired listings. I found this one expired listing that was kind of in the back of my neighborhood. And I went up, shook his hand. I actually stopped by there. And he said, I wish I would have met you like 2 days ago because I just signed with this company that guaranteed the sale of my home if indeed I buy a new construction home. Well, I happen to know that company. And I happen to know the owner of that company that he signed with. So I called him up and I said, hey, his name was Mike. And I said, Mike, the owner, right? And I said, Mike, I have this property in the back of my neighborhood. You guys just listed because you guys just did a deal with them. Can I hold an open house? Sure enough, I held the open house. The buyer came in. Somebody else I talked to ended up buying their house. Right. So anyway, at the end of the day, there was 5 transactions that all closed on a Friday, about 2.5 months into the business.
Wow.
That series of transactions was probably the number one thing that kept me in the business, because I was actually, what's the word for it? I was excited. I was desperate. It needed something to happen. And because those 5 transactions closed all in order, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they all had to kind of fall. And once they did, that was actually the confidence I needed. And it was also the money I needed to sustain myself, because I was the only one in the home working. Mm-hmm. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. We have 5 kids. And I left corporate America. So I really didn't have a car, a laptop, a cell phone. And I was just trying to figure it out. I went from almost pretty much falling on my face once we left corporate to figuring out how to get income for our family. And that makes you, when you get hungry like that, a lot of things can happen.
Yeah, because you kind of have to think out of your box, and you're just like, okay, we gotta get this. But that's crazy. Just all of them happened at once. That's something that, you learn all of them real fast, and like I think you kind of like just the fact that it happens all at once. You learn real quick, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready to go to all these other ones now.
Yeah, it all happened at the same time, but it also happened, they were all part of the same deal, right? So the first one that was listed by somebody else, I sold it. So I had the buyer, and then I had they were the seller of a different property.
Yeah.
I had connected to somebody on the phone that was looking in a certain area that the seller happened to own the home. So I connected those dots, and then those people had to sell, right? And then the people, anyway, then there's a buyer that came out of it too that ended up buying. So 5 deals all within 1 day of closing. And again, if it wouldn't have happened like that, I probably wouldn't be in the business, because it was a hard start for me.
Yeah.
I went from a corporate job, corporate America, right into sink or swim.
Yeah.
And that was my life preserver.
Yeah. I talked to somebody the other day that they just like picked everything up and moved from Florida to Miami, and I was like, wow, that's pretty. Just they had nothing. They're just like, I'm just gonna go figure it out. It's like, wow. It's like if they can pull that off, then you're like, you got this. Especially if you see them now, they're just like, wow, you've already got that far. It's like, that's crazy. So that's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about now. What are you doing now, like in real estate? So we talked about way back when, but what are you doing now? I know you got lots of things going on. You got lots of live streams you're doing, and lots of real estate stuff you're doing. But what are you doing now?
What I'm doing now is trying to get out of my own way. And what I mean by that is, there are some really basic things that you have to do as a real estate agent. And sometimes those basic things get overlooked because all the other things that are so exciting, it's really easy to default to them. And so I love video. I love getting on video. I love making creative videos. I love social media. But there's much more to our marketing plan than that. And so when you struggle, my biggest struggle though, Brad, is taking everything that's in my head, laying it out, and actually executing on it. I execute, but I want to execute each one of these pillars at a very deep level. And sometimes I just, analysis paralysis. You get so excited about it and you want to start implementing everything, but then something happens, or you you can't forget to prospect. You have to be on the phones. You have to talk to people, or else the business will stop. So if you get yourself sidetracked with all the cool, fun, sexy things, it's going to hurt your business. So that's my struggle. I need like 10 of me, and I'd be happy.
So what have you done now to solve some of those problems? So since you're trying to get away from them, have there any of them that you're like, once you like implement it, you're like, that saves me so much time to do and stuff like that? Is there any big ones you noticed?
Yeah, so I do automate as much as I can. Recently, I picked up a virtual assistant, and I was leery about that because virtual assistants are hit and miss, and this one is a miss. So this one's actually hurting me. It's hurting my business. It's hurting my schedule, things that I wanted to get out by a certain time. It's just not working out well.
Yep.
So as a business owner, as you know, trying to find that help. The latest thing is I probably need a good assistant. Probably need an assistant here on the ground because my wife is busy. My wife's busy and she does a lot of things for me and with me, but I need somebody that can actually help me on a daily basis and I can count on for 5 or 6 hours a day to help push the business along.
Yep. Yeah, I understand that one. That's too bad that one didn't work, but I'm sure you'll learn what works on the next one. If you end up getting another one or a assistant, at least you'll know what to learn from that experience to go on to the next one. So, yeah. What you got, Taylor?
I kind of want to go back a little bit. So when you first started, what's the major marketing tool or sales tool that you were using, and how has that changed over the years?
Well, the major marketing tool and sales tool was, I noticed, I'll tell you actually, I know that answer now that I think about it for a second. Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer in multi-channel marketing. So it's a waste of everybody's time, in my opinion, if you get on the phone to a prospective seller, whether it's an expired listing or for sale by owner, somebody in your farm, somebody that you know. It's a waste of time if you get on the phone and you dial and you talk to somebody and then you don't do anything with them. So I'm a big believer that in multi-channel, send them an email, send them a text, send them a postcard, send them a card, send them a letter, and do it again. Put them in a calendar. When are you going to talk to them again? If it's a month from now or a year from now, you need to make good notes and you need to put them in so that's kind of what I taught when I worked for corporate. And so when I took that knowledge of corporate America and I put it into play in real estate, it's helped me considerably because I'm not the guy that just calls somebody, connects with them, sends them something and forgets about them. Mm-hmm. I'm the guy that sends them 5 things, make sure they see my face, they hear my voice, they have my card, they have me on text, they have me on social, wherever I can put them, connect the dots. And then I call them when I say I'm going to call them. So that's probably my biggest social media, or that's probably the biggest marketing idea I have is be everywhere once you connect with somebody.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know, that's one of the things I see big in just kind of business world altogether is because I remember when back in the day I used to fight instruct and we used to, that was pretty much our biggest thing, that we would actually answer the phone. And we would call them back, or actually just call them back if they rang and we were just still flying the plane or something. We just call them back when we get on the ground. Just if you don't call people back, or if you just don't answer the phone or don't call them back when you say you're going to, it's that's like business 101, but I didn't realize it, that so many people don't do that. It's just crazy. It's such a good thing and no one does it.
Yeah, but then again, make sure you're accessible. Make sure they see that you're a real person. Make sure you send them a video.
Yep.
A BombBomb video so they can see your face, they can see you're real. Make sure you send them links to all your channels. Make sure you send them a postcard. Make sure you send them a letter with your card in the envelope. There's so many things that will pay off later, but too many people get all excited like a little church monkey and they want to bounce from one task to another. So you're on the phones with all these people and you get done with the call and you're like, okay, I'm going to hang up. I'm not going to make good notes. I'm not going to do anything. And I'm going to make the next call. take 2 minutes, automate the process, take 2 minutes and do it. And you'll get better results over time because you actually took action with that person that you connected with. But too many people just go to the next call first.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, exactly.
So I watched your live on Friday. That was hilarious. I really enjoyed it. I had fun watching it.
Well, thanks for watching it. Yeah, it's such a good group that I do that with. You know, for a while there it was Jen Tate and I, and we were doing it weekly. And then we brought in Jimmy Nelson. We were doing it every other week with Jimmy and every other week with Jen. And then we brought in Steve as like a guest. And now we're down to like once a month. Let's just get the whole gang together. And it's usually a lot of fun. Steve brings a lot of humor, and everybody has their own side, you know.
I was laughing the whole time.
Yeah. You guys do a pretty good job.
They're pretty fun. Fun group.
Yeah. Okay, so what is how has like the COVID situation affected like the whole real estate market? Have you seen? I know there's been a lot of like lower inventory and stuff like that, but how have you seen it affect it?
Well, what I experienced last year, and I think a lot of people experienced, is there's a lot of people that need to move, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they want to move. So everybody's in this mode right now where they realize their home is actually their home again. It's not just a place they lay their head. It's their office, it's their gym, it's their vacation spot. It's where they need their separate rooms. They don't need that open floor plan anymore. They need separate spaces where they can go and kind of get away from the kids because the kids have been there all day online doing school. There's so many different parts of that people are looking for space. And again, it's because of all those things that I just mentioned. It's that's the biggest thing. People realize maybe I don't like living in a neighborhood anymore. Maybe I want to be out in the country. Maybe I want to finally have that pool. Maybe I want to have all those things that you didn't realize that you wanted until this happened. And now all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I only live once. Actually, speaking of only living once, I had a friend that got COVID. And he called me a couple weeks ago. I didn't really know he had COVID. Called me a couple weeks ago and asked some advice on his bathroom because he's going to put his house up for sale. And I said, what? You're moving? Where are you moving to? And he wants to move to California.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I came this close. I was on my deathbed. I was very, very close. And I realized I want to live where I want to live and I want to do what I want to do. So I'm going to sell my house once we get it all ready. And I appreciate your advice, and I'm going to move to California.
Wow.
So there's another example, and that was not something on my radar. That was not planned at all.
Yeah. Well, good for him for going what he wants to do and just says, hey, I'm going to do it. So good for him.
Yeah.
What do you see the market going into in the next year or so?
The market's going to be crazy. So what I've told many, many people is if you can solve the number one issue out there, then you'll be wildly successful this year. And I think the number one issue, and if you saw the show, Taylor, then I think the number one issue is the gridlock. It's all these people that want to sell for all those reasons I mentioned, right? They want the office, they want the yard, they want the gym, they want the privacy, they want the pool, but they don't know how. They don't know how to sell because there's nothing on the market. So their house will never go on the market because there's nowhere to go. And so it's an absolute situation. And once we solve for that, if we can solve for that, there's a lot of ways to do that, then building confidence with the client base to realize that, hey, they probably got to buy first before they sell, which was a big change.
Yeah,
they used to have
opposite.
to sell first before they bought, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be the big win. Anybody who can build those relationships and build the confidence in their clients to do just that will be successful in the next year and a half or 2 years.
Awesome. So what is like one, it's probably like a different topic, but what is like one thing you would tell like a new agent that was just starting this month? Because you know that they're going to be a completely different market than you were when you started, but what would be one thing you would tell an agent starting this month that would be good advice for them for this year?
Yeah, so I actually have a mentee that I'm working with at Brookstone, brand new agent, it's never been in the business, came from the hospitality business, like you said earlier, and real good guy. So the number one thing I told him was to build your database. Number one.
Oh, yeah.
Understand who you know, who likes you, trusts you already, and then start there. We need their addresses, we need their emails, we need their phone numbers, we need their birthday, we need their anniversary dates, we need their spouse's name. If you can put all that together in a really nice format, start there. And then I could go a lot deeper on that subject because it's one of my passions. But the second most important thing would be get organized. And when I tell you that, it's just like I mentioned, if you make a call to somebody and they say, I have a renter in this property, I'm not interested, it was really nice talking to you, send me over the stats. And if you send them over the stats and you put them in a newsletter type system that you're in front of them all the time, and they said they have a renter in there until next January, then have a system in place that you can make sure you call them in November.
Yeah.
Stay in front of them a little bit, but then call them in November. So if you were in my program as a mentee, you'd understand database is number one, organization is number two.
Awesome. I like it. Okay, so you mentioned Brookstone. So how long have you been at Brookstone?
I've been at Brookstone before Brookstone was Brookstone. So that's the fun part. I don't know if you knew that, but Brookstone opened its doors on, I think it was April 1st of 19.
Yeah.
And I had signed up with Brookstone on March 15th.
Nice.
Of 19. We didn't even have any of the paperwork ready. But Brandon called me up, and I'm a big believer in Brandon, and he called me up, told me, hey, I'm ready, because a year before that we were going to do he was going to do Brookstone a year before that, and I was going to come with him then. Mm-hmm. Well, he called me up, said, I'm ready, and he goes, you want to come on board? And I said, as long as I'm your first agent. And I was joking, but he said, well, if you sign up tonight, you're my first agent. And I said, send over the paperwork.
Nice.
Send over the paperwork.
That's awesome.
And so, I officially hold that spot right now. And I was the first agent. Now we're up to like 180. So we're doing, it's been a fun ride.
That's crazy. Yeah, I know. I remember when it all back started, and I just remember you guys, I looked and I'm like, the Facebook group had one person, like right at the beginning. It was like 30 people. And then the next thing I look, it's like 60, 80, 100, 150. It's like, dang, you guys grew fast. You guys had a good system you guys have in place already. And I love seeing it grow. So
yeah, Brandon's put together, all the whole leadership team over there has done a really, really good job. Between Brandon and Bill, Sarah and Jen, Christy, of course, and they've done a really good job of kind of choosing, and Matt Hellebuck, choosing their roles and kind of running with it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a success. It's surrounding yourself with the right people. I had a part in that. Since then, I focused more on production. I don't focus on the technology sector of that. But it is fun. It's fun being involved. But sometimes you just have to make sure that, you focus on business number one first. And it really depends on what the needs are for the brokerage.
Yep, exactly. Okay. Well, since we know you love technology, what is your favorite technology at the moment?
I would tell you there's a piece of software right now for Macs that's called eCam. Are you familiar with it?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Okay, it's a Mac only thing. It's the best piece of software as far as I'm concerned for video. All the settings, it can introduce video clips and sound bites. The little logo that's in the corner of the screen here is because of eCam. I'm actually coming through eCam first to come to you. So I could do a lot of crazy things with my screen, but I won't do that right now. But that timer, Taylor, that you saw that I was messing with in the beginning, that was me dragging around a timer on eCam. Okay. So eCam is one of my new favorite things. I use it in conjunction with Zoom. I use it in conjunction with Streamyard. So any video at all, and it does its own thing too. But any video at all, it's the best platform for me to funnel the video and the audio through.
Yeah, is that like OBS? Do you ever use OBS?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's just easier.
Yeah, OBS is
I
pretty
like
challenging.
easy.
Yeah, but OBS is pretty challenging. I remember when you showed me Streamyard, I'm like, this is way easier. And I mean,
Streamyard is still my go-to, but I can do both.
Yep.
I can do both. It depends on what I'm using it for. Streamyard, though, I use this through Streamyard, and it works out pretty well.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
When did you start using this?
And I started using this about a month ago.
Okay.
Nice.
Because I was struggling with a lot of the camera feeds, and I was struggling with a lot of things, technology-wise, to make sure my system was set up where I needed it. And I finally found it once I found Ecamm.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, tell me what else you got.
I kind of want to know from a client's perspective, what advice would you give to maybe someone who's buying or selling a home for the first time in this market?
You say buying or selling for the first time, or buying and selling in this market?
Buying and selling in this market.
Okay, so buying and selling in this market, that's interesting. Well, I would say find a reputable agent that's going to walk you through this and help you. Because if, again, just kind of like to piggyback on what I said earlier, if somebody can get you your desired goal or help you get to your goal, then you're in good shape. But if you can't get to your goal, then you just wasted a bunch of time and energy, and it's stressful. So that might mean you have to buy before you sell. It might mean that you have to have an agent that's going to look for something that's not on the market necessarily, or have a series of homes that they know of that would possibly be for sale. And it really, just make sure you get lined up with the right professional team to accomplish your goals.
Yeah.
Don't think you're just going to put a house on the market and with the everyday agent, I guess, and think that it's going to be smooth once you close and get into a new house. Because most likely you're going to end up living somewhere else and moving twice.
Yep.
But most of the time that can be avoided if you do it right.
Okay. I know this market this year, especially for people who are moving for the first time, it can be very intimidating.
Yeah, so another thing I'd tell you is have a backup plan, right? I have a client going through that right now. Have a backup plan. Understand what pods cost. Understand how all that happens, and where are you going to lay your head if you can't move in right away. And make sure that and again, a good real estate agent is going to kind of guide you through that. Hey, here's plan A, but if plan B needs to happen, we need to make sure we have it.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, before we go, what is how can some potential clients reach out to you?
I'm working on like a branded site, right? So I have the TillierTeam.com, but I am working on ThomTillier.com, which becomes the easiest way to get all the links for everything to connect anywhere. But I'm very easily Googleable. Is that even a word?
I think it's close enough.
All right. Well, that sounds like fun. So I'm very easy to find on Google. You just type in my name. It's Thom Tillier, ThomTillier. You can always call me at 248-804-4030. My email address is thom@thetillierteam.com. So pretty easy to find me, though. If you just search me on Google, you will find me. And I'm very accessible. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it, I'm out there no matter what.
That's awesome. That's how we know you know what you're doing, because you Google and you show up. Because you said we'll find you, so that means you obviously shows you know what you're doing. But we have one more question for you. Let's see,
boy,
Taylor.
Taylor's laughing.
Taylor, what is it? What is it, Taylor?
It's kind of an off-the-wall question.
Bring it on.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
A hot dog is a sandwich if you eat it with the bun.
Okay.
So wait.
How's that for an answer? How's that for
Good
an
enough.
answer?
That's
So a
perfect.
hot dog. Let's go deeper into that, Brad. Now that you're gonna throw these questions at me, I'm gonna throw something else at you.
Oh, dang.
So-
Going to
So a hot dog is really just nothing but a meat stick, right?
Yep.
yeah.
And a hot dog can take many different forms. You can bread a hot dog, and you can have corn dogs, right? You can cut up a hot dog, so it's not always a sandwich, I guess. But if you put it in a bun and you have a nice kogel and a nice, Aunt, what's her name? What is her name?
I don't know.
Whatever.
I just
If
want to
you
say
put her,
Aunt Jemima, but that's actually the
No,
syrup.
it's not. It's not. But you put a good kogel in a nice steamed bun from Home Depot, you're good.
Yeah. I like it.
Home Depot hot dogs are the best hot dogs. Can we talk about hot dogs some more?
Let's
Yeah,
talk
we
about more. I think it's a brilliant idea because I'm hungry.
Oh, I'm
But-
starving.
Yeah.
But no, a hot dog is definitely a sandwich, but it can take many other forms.
Ooh, I like it. That was a good answer. That's
Mhm.
that's probably our best answer yet. So we're going with it. And with that said, I think we're all set.
Are these working? Here we go.
Oh, there we go. I think they're working. Should we tell them?
Mine keeps falling. It doesn't like my voice.
What do we got to tell them?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. What do we got to point at? Hey, I think there's a subscription button like
It might be there
might be right there too,
somewhere.
somewhere.
Find it. It's red.
Yeah, and it's
Red.
blue. It's green. I don't really know.
It's a color.
This mic isn't even attached. Did you plug these in? Well, I guess.
I wonder if they can hear us.
Yeah. I wonder if they hear us. Well, we should probably tell them if they can hear us. We should probably tell them to also give us a 5-star review if they listen to on Apple. That'd be cool.
5
5-star
stars,
review.
guys.
Share it with everybody they can think of.
We won't take
Right.
4 stars.
I mean, Taylor, I don't even think these are on. I mean,
No, I don't think this is working.
This is not working.